Good morning, everyone. I am going to do a little analyzing today for everyone. Hope you're having a good weekend. Kind of killed me yesterday when I wasn't able to do this because I was trying to take a day off. But if you guys, I'm gonna just type refresh if you can't see. I was so frustrated yesterday because I tried to take a little bit of a day off, but I'm doing this as a live stream only because it takes forever to process if I don't. And if that, it's just a pain. So I'll be glancing at the chat to see if there's any audio problems or anything like that. Otherwise, I'm going to go through this and hopefully they don't revoke me from YouTube for, expressing an opinion. Off we go. I hope everybody's ready because there's some really interesting stuff in here that I was able to pull. So let's get started. Hold on. Let me make you guys small. Not that you're small. I just want to be able to see you. Okay. All right. So the Democrat memo was released yesterday on a Saturday because they knew I'd be taking a day. And it is really laughable, but also very scary. And I'm going to go through exactly why. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm going to point it out to you, and I'm going to use facts, not emotion. And I'm going to show you why this memo actually gave us some hints into what's actually going on, probably because nobody on their side is going to take the time to dissect this thing like we would. We did the same thing with the Nunez memo, and we learned a lot of stuff in there, right? So let's get started. First of all, they did this way on purpose. We've gone over it several times. They used sources and methods inside of this thing so that it would have to be redacted so that they could use it in a political way to blame Donald Trump for not wanting transparency within his organization or his administration, which is absolute horse manure. But let's get started. It says the HPSCI majority's move to release the House of Representatives its allegations against the FBI and the Department of Justice is a transparent effort to undermine those agencies, the special counsel, and Congress's investigations. It also risks public exposure of sensitive sources and methods for no legitimate purpose. Meanwhile, there are gazillions of redactions in this memo that actually does expose sources and methods and was done so by design, like we talked about, okay? FBI and DOJ officials did not underline and bold, quote, abuse the FISA process, omit material information, or subvert this vital tool to spy on the Trump campaign. But they never show us anything in here to prove that. The screen is fuzzy because the document's fuzzy on Scribd. That's why. But they never do anything to show us that in here. They just say it like we're supposed to just trust them. I don't know about you guys, but I don't trust them. I don't trust them. In fact, he says, DOJ and the FBI would have been remiss in their duty to protect the country had they not sought a FISA warrant and repeated renewals to conduct temporary surveillance of Carter Page, someone the FBI assessed to be an agent of the Russian government. That statement in and of itself is just a blatant falsity. The DOJ met the rigor, transparency, and evidentiary basis needed to meet FISA's probable cause requirement by demonstrating, and I'm just going to, actually, I'll read this first. Contemporaneous evidence of Russia's election interference. We have none. We have none. Concerning Russian links and outreach to Trump campaign officials, I'll go into this in a second. Page's history with Russian intelligence, another point that we'll detail, and blank redaction, Page's suspicious activities in 2016, including in Moscow. They state that Carter Page is an agent of the Russian government. They say they met the criteria needed for FISA probable cause. They say they were transparent. They say there is evidence of Russia's election interference, but there's none proven or available. So concerning Russian links and outreach to the campaign, this all centered around Papadopoulos, who isn't even charged with that by Mueller. Remember, he's charged with lying to investigators. So you'd think if all of this stuff is true, that they would have charged George Papadopoulos with any of this, but they haven't. Page's history with Russian intelligence was because he worked for the FBI. He worked for the FBI. And Page's, quote, suspicious activities in Russia in 2016 are all based on the dossier. They're all based on the dossier, which I've done extensive work on this channel debunking against itself, literally. So we know that that dossier was not credible. The committee's minority has therefore prepared this memorandum to correct the record. This thing just makes me sick. We'll get there. We'll get there. Bullet point 1. He says DOJ's October 21, 2016 FISA application and 3 subsequent renewals carefully outlined for the court a multi-pronged rationale for surveilling Page, who, at the time of the first application, was no longer with the Trump campaign. DOJ detailed Page's past relationships with Russian spies and interaction with Russian officials during the 2016 campaign, redacted. DOJ cited multiple sources to support the case for surveilling Page, but made only narrow use of information from Steele's sources about Page's specific activities in 2016. Chiefly, his suspected July 2016s with meetings in Moscow with Russian officials, redacted. In fact, the FBI interviewed Page in March of 2016 about his contact with Russian intelligence, the very month candidate Donald Trump named him a foreign policy advisor. They've got him. That's it. They've got Carter Page right there, right? No. And let me show you why. They state that Steele's intelligence did not inform the FBI decision to initiate counterintelligence in late July 2016. So then let's start by exploring maybe what would have triggered them back in late July. They knew nothing at that time. They knew nothing at that time, unless Papadopoulos was a plant or they were spying about his emails with Russian intelligence people. So how did they know back then, if it's not based on the dossier, how did they know that Papadopoulos was reaching out to Russians and having conversations? There is no way that they would have known. Or is there? Or is there? The only thing they could have been using as their, quote, incredibly damning information at that time, if they weren't spying or using the dossier, is that Page went to Russia to give a commencement address. Now, if that is now grounds for a FISA warrant, we have issues. We have issues. We do know from Glenn Simpson's testimony that he first shared his findings, Steele, with the FBI, the very first memo in the dossier with the FBI, when? In July. He talked to, if you go back to my videos I did on the analyzing the Glenn Simpson testimony, Glenn Simpson says that Christopher Steele came to him and was like, listen, they're bribing this guy with sex. And Glenn Simpson was like, oh, big deal. You know, I don't know if that's really grounds to go to the FBI. And Steele said, you know what? I know someone there. I'll take it to the FBI. That was the first time. So this whole dossier wasn't used until September nonsense is bull. And we know that unless Glenn Simpson is lying through his whole entire testimony, in which case we have a whole nother problem. So if we go by testimony by Glenn Simpson about Christopher Steele going to the FBI in July, this stuff is all untrue that they're saying. The Daily Caller does an article that actually confirms that, and I'm going to show it to you. It states that Steele first shared his findings with an FBI acquaintance in July of 2016, and then he met again with agents in September of 2016. And this is from his testimony, like I just said. And he talks about, you know, the sterling reputation of Christopher Steele. And I will find, hold on, July. Hard to, oh yeah. Steele first shared his findings with an FBI acquaintance in July 2016. He met with agents again in September of 2016. And this is all about the media and why Christopher Steele was, quote, lost as a source, because he's not supposed to be talking to the media about what him and the FBI are talking about. And so the FBI decides we can't use this dude anymore. He's breaking protocol. Like protocol means anything to them anymore. In addition, this is another big one that completely trashes this whole thing. In addition, we also know that Brennan from the CIA met with Harry Reid and gave him information from the dossier in July/August. And that Harry Reid used the information he got from Brennan. The CIA is not allowed to get involved in this stuff. Dan Bongino does a really good job of talking about this, about how Brennan's involved in this. Anyway, he goes to Harry Reid, he meets with Harry Reid. Harry Reid sends a letter off to Comey. And when I was searching for this letter, which I wasn't able to do, I wasn't able to find it for some reason, and I wanted to get this up eventually. I found a really cool compilation of all the stuff on James Comey. It's called the James Comey File, former director of the FBI, and the link is in the description box for you. It is 1,000 pages long, and it's fantastic, amazing. Anyway, so Harry Reid takes this. He makes a letter. I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to show you the article about it in July/August of 2016, where he says, I have reason to believe that the Russians are interfering in the election, and you should look into it. And we know that that is based on dossier in part, and also trying to cover their butts about what happened with the DNC emails. Hold on. So here it is. CIA had evidence of Russian effort to help Trump earlier than believed. April 6, 2017. This is the date of the article, but here it is about John Brennan. CIA told senior lawmakers that it had information last summer indicating that Russia was working to help elect Donald Trump. And it goes into how Brennan went to 8 top members of Congress over the summer on secure phone lines when they were on break. And he gave them information, which he got from the dossier, about the hackings and other things. They wouldn't comment on it. Reid fires off a letter to James Comey saying, you better look into this. We also know that in September, when Steele met again with the FBI, they told him that they were receiving word from sources inside of the Trump campaign. So the FBI tells Christopher Steele, by the way, yeah, your stuff's being corroborated from sources inside of the Trump campaign, that there were corroborations between the dossier and what was actually happening in the real world. Quote, one can speculate it would be easy for this to happen if Papadopoulos is the insider plant, like I've been speculating, and several others, and he's reporting back to the FBI as well as whoever he's working for, maybe McCain, the Clintons, Fusion GPS, whoever else, got a lot of ties to the Clintons. Anyway, if he's an insider plant and he's reporting back to the FBI as well as providing information from his May meeting with Downer, which is really weird. The Daily Caller, again, that article that I was just showing you about the Daily Caller, here states, quote, Simpson suggested in his interview that Steele learned from the FBI in September 2016 that the Bureau had received information from inside the Trump campaign that corroborated some of the dossier's allegations. The revelation raises questions about why the FBI would not have shared seemingly sensitive information about its sources with Steele, a former MI6 officer who now operates a private intelligence firm. In his testimony, Simpson says Steele told him during a September 2016 meeting with FBI agents that the FBI, quote, had other intelligence about this matter from an internal Trump campaign source, and that they thought Steele, quote, might be credible, quote, because they had other intelligence from a human source inside the Trump organization. Simpson was cagey when asked whether Steele had received that information directly from the FBI, but he didn't deny it. And Mr. Steele tells you that the FBI had relayed this information to him, question mark? Simpson was asked. He didn't specify that, said Simpson, adding that Steele, quote, would say very generic things like, I saw them, they asked me a lot of questions, sounds like they have another source or they have another source. Thanks for the super chats, guys. They state that the, where is it? Oh, here we go. They state that the 1021, the October 21st FISA approval, and the 3 renewals were carefully done for, quote, surveilling Page, who had already left the Trump campaign. So therefore, they weren't spying on the Trump campaign. Right? Wrong. They failed to mention that those warrants are retroactive. They're retroactive. And there's 2 hops involved. So they're jumping around spying on hundreds of thousands of people based off of this. They're just lying to you. They state that they detailed Page's past relationships and interaction with Russian officials during the 2016 campaign. Well, how did they know about those things? They say they didn't use the dossier. They say it was used, quote, narrowly from Steele's sources. Keep in mind, they let leak that they have someone planted inside the campaign. I argue, strongly at this point, that this person was Papadopoulos. And we have more redactions. See? And what I'm going to do right now is show you why the March deal that they talk about is really ridiculous. The DOJ cited, quote, multiple sources. Multiple sources are telling. DOJ cited multiple sources to support the case for surveilling Page. Well, who were the sources? Who were they? Was Simpson a source? Was Bruce Orr a source? Who were the sources? And how did they know? And are they going to tell us? No, of course not. Of course not. They also state that the FBI interviewed Carter Page in March of 2016 about his contact with Russian intelligence. Yeah, they did. Because he had just finished testifying on behalf of the FBI at this time for the United States against the Russians. Against the Russians. Buryakov pleaded guilty March 11th, 2016. This was the case that Carter Page was working on for the FBI. So of course the FBI is speaking with Carter Page at this time about his connections to Russians, but it has nothing to do with nefarious activity. An unregistered intelligence agent undercover of being a legitimate banker gathers intelligence on the streets of New York City, trading coded messages with Russian spies who send the clandestinely collected information back to Moscow. That was Carter Page. That was Carter Page. And this comes out Friday, March 11th, 2016. And the Schiff memo, what do they say? He was talking to the FBI. He was a Russian spy. Nonsense. Nonsense. It is so not based in reality. Sorry about that. Thanks for the super chat. This right here should be enough to make you scream. It made me scream. And, a lot of people think that Carter Page may have been a plant as well. Well, I won't 100% rule it out. I'll be honest with you. I don't believe so. And the reason why I don't believe so is because of how vocal he is at this point and how he's walking around with no attorney and how he's being very transparent about things. He's a little bit cocky, but listen, I don't think he's got anything to hide, to be honest. And I don't think he did anything wrong. I think PDOP is the guy we're looking for. And we're going to get into this some more in a second here. So as they move forward in the dossier, in the memo here, they continue to assert that Steele's reporting about Page's meeting in Moscow, including the, quote, salacious nonsense, was not relied upon in their obtaining the FISA warrants. However, we know, again, that that Steele used this very thing, that first memo in the dossier about the hotel and the P-gate, whatever they're going to call it, to first approach the FBI in July of 2016, even as Simpson himself was stating, as per his testimony, that this is what was used to go to the FBI. Schiff states that the FBI disclosed everything about Steele to the court. The Nunes memo begs to differ. Who do I believe? Well, I believe Nunes, but we can't see the source documents, so we won't know. You can't submit you're not allowed to submit even one single unverified fact to the FISA court to obtain a warrant. Not one. And don't forget that this dossier, which they did use, narrow use. You cannot do that. Narrow use. What does that mean, narrow use? What does that mean? Does that mean they used a sentence of it? Did they use a paragraph? Did they use one full memo? Did they use two? What does narrow mean? Nothing. It means nothing because they don't tell us, because they're trying to lie to us and hide this crap from us. My head explodes. It does. It explodes. Anyway, you can't submit even one unconfirmed piece of fact. Not one. Not one. And meanwhile, they're using this dossier, which is source A, source B, source D, talk to source E, who then said to source F's cousin's brother, sister's mother, maybe who also got it from a reporter who Papadopoulos had told. Do you understand what I mean? Incidentally, to alleviate this whole mess, just so that you guys know, Grassley and Graham are actually seeking to obtain the original applications for FISA. And I'm wondering if Schiff has even read them himself at all, which I doubt, as he chooses to blanket blame everybody for falsities that he himself can't even prove. And it's back ass words, as I like to say. It's back ass words. Here is the press release about Grassley and Graham seeking surveillance applications in the Russia probe from June 28th of last year. I don't know if they got it. I know it was just responded to recently, but you guys should really start checking out Grassley's Senate page because his PR releases are very transparent. Very transparent. I want to go on. They start to do background here, and it's like 8-9 pages of noise explaining the noise that they had just kind of tried to pull over our eyes and hear. And it's long, and nobody on that side's reading this thing. Trust me, they don't care. They're just going to see this, and they're going to move on and say, oh, yeah, I'm in my little bubble. I don't care. I believe that the details in the first paragraph of this explanation, which is here, concrete the fact that Papadopoulos was the source inside of the Trump campaign. I'm going to read it quickly. Let me pull this chat back up again because I just want to make sure I'm not being beeped. On January 18th, 2018, the committee majority, during an unrelated business meeting, forced a surprise vote to release to the full House a profoundly misleading memorandum alleging serious abuses by the FBI and the DOJ. Majority staff drafted the document in secret on behalf of Chairman Devin Nunes and reportedly with guidance and input from Rep. Trey Gowdy, and then rushed a party line vote without prior notice. Ridiculous. This was by design, he says. The overwhelming majority of committee members never received DOJ authorization to access the classified information and therefore could not judge the veracity of Nunes's claims. Due to sensitive sources and methods, DOJ provides access only to the committee chair and ranking member or respective designees, important for leaks, and limited staff to facilitate the committee's investigation into Russia's covert campaign to influence the 2016 U.S. elections. As DOJ has confirmed publicly, it did not authorize the broader release of this information within Congress or to the public, and Chairman Nunes refused to allow DOJ and the FBI to review his document until he permitted the FBI director to see it for the first time in secure spaces. Here we go. This is where it starts. This is where it starts. In its October 2016 FISA application and subsequent renewals, DOJ accurately informed the court that the FBI initiated its counterintelligence investigation on July 31st, 2016, after receiving information blank. Redacted. George Papadopoulos revealed that individuals linked to Russia who took interest in Papadopoulos as a Trump campaign foreign policy advisor informed him in late 2016 that I don't know. Couldn't tell you because it's redacted. Papadopoulos' disclosure, moreover, occurred against the backdrop of Russia's aggressive, covert campaign to influence our elections, which the FBI was already monitoring. We would later learn in Papadopoulos' plea that the information the Russians could assist by anonymously releasing were thousands of Hillary Clinton's emails. This, I'm telling you, here's why. Here's why I think. This makes sense because Papadopoulos was the one having ridiculously overt conversations with Russians throughout this whole thing. If you go and you look and you read the emails that Papadopoulos is getting from these people with the subject lines, meeting with Russian official, who does that? If you're trying to covertly meet with somebody, it's not supposed to be something that you're doing. It was overt. Go back and read them. You can read the emails. You can go to the charges for Mueller's investigation. And inside of those charges, inside of the charging document, you can read all of the information, all of the emails. So he was the one trying to set up these meetings and being rebuked, except for by Manafort and Gates, which we'll get into. He was talking to what is the equivalent of the Secretary of State for Australia in a London bar, this low-level campaign foreign policy advisor, right? Right? Low level guy. He's talking to him. And that guy had been responsible for funneling money into the Clinton Foundation. I really believe that Papadopoulos was flipped by Mueller. They're already laying claim also, and I'm going to go, let me stop there for a second before I go on. I've been saying, and too much pushback, that I speculate that Papadopoulos was a plant and that he was flipped when Mueller arrested him. And I've done several videos about this at this point. The reason why I strongly believe that this is the case, and even more so now, is because he lied to Mueller about his conversations with these Russians. The reason why Mueller knew that was because the Trump campaign, Sarah Sanders affirms this, sent all of this stuff to Mueller. Mueller had the information he needed to charge Papadopoulos with lying because he had gotten that information from the Trump campaign. Just use devil's advocate for a second. Think about that. Now we're learning that Papadopoulos was involved way earlier than we thought. And we know that when he pled, which was very secret, in July, he was not allowed to talk to anyone on the Trump campaign. But Mueller had been using him to cooperate with the investigation. So if he's not allowed to talk to the Trump campaign, who is he cooperating against? Answer me that question. That's all I'm saying. Again. Now, another thing that's in here that I picked up on that is, sort of, I guess, a speculative thing. It's a speculative thing, but I know how the MSM and these people, they frame themselves. Okay. I know how they do it. You guys do too. It's transparent. But basically, Dan Bongino, like my hero lately, has been saying over and over, I know that those 30,000 emails are not missing. They have them. They'll come out. That'll implicate Obama, etc., so on and so forth, right? It will. I say right, like you guys can answer me. I know you can't answer me. I know you can't. But anyway, I digress. They say in here, they say they're not spying on the Trump campaign. It's bull. But basically, anyway, they start saying that, and look at all these redactions. How are we supposed to do anything with this? The Steele sourcing, the unmasking, it's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. What I'm looking for, and not paying for the dossier. I didn't even research that point, but I know that that's false. I know that that's false. And Bruce Orr, we'll get into that in a second too. But anyway, they're basically setting the groundwork in here for Russia took Clinton's emails. So that when the emails come out, they can say, Russia did it again. And we're supposed to be mad at Russia while also at the same time ignoring the content of those emails, which is what they did with everything. The DNC did rig their own primary. They did. The DNC rigged their own primary. The Podesta emails show a ton of corruption and in some cases what I think is alleged criminality. They also show that our media our media are referring to themselves as hacks. They talk about a lot of information in those emails, and it's always glossed over. Remember, I said this on the Rogue Money interview the other day. CNN comes out. Reading this is illegal. So you'll get all your information from us. Cuomo. So they're basically setting the stage for Russia did it again. Russia hacked and got Hillary Clinton's emails. Now, I do want to state something that's always kind of made me scratch my head, and I think you guys can help me out with this. I don't believe the dossier mentions anything about Hillary Clinton's emails. The dossier says they have incriminating conversations recorded about Hillary Clinton and all kinds of other stuff, that she's actually uttered out of her mouth. But they don't ever say, in my recollection, I could be wrong, somebody correct me if I am, that they have, in the dossier, they don't say they have Hillary Clinton's emails. So Papadopoulos is the source of this. Another check mark on the Papadopoulos is a plant deal. Hillary Clinton knows those emails are missing. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton know that people have those emails. They know that they implicate Barack Obama in also emailing to Hillary Clinton's private server and using his own private email address to skirt FOIA laws and to allow our state secrets to be stolen by others willingly. Willingly. So anyway, then they start talking the Bruce Orr bit. The Bruce Orr bit. I'm gonna just debunk this. I'm gonna read this really quickly. The majority's reference to Bruce Orr is misleading. Now, don't forget, demoted twice Bruce Orr for no reason, I guess, just willy-nilly demoted. Willy-nilly. The majority's reference to Bruce Orr is misleading. The majority mischaracterizes Bruce Orr's role, overstates the significance of his interactions with Steele, and misleads about the time frame of Orr's communication with the FBI. That's not true. It's not true. In late November 2016, Orr informed the FBI of his prior professional relationship with Steele and information that Steele shared with him. Now, including Steele's concern about Trump being compromised by Russia. Compromised by Russia when Russia says we were trying to tempt him with business deals, but he refused to take them as per dossier. And then later on in the dossier saying Trump was desperate for business deals in Russia, but he settled for prostitutes instead. Right. Remember Glenn Simpson's testimony that Feinstein released to us while she had a cold. She sneezed it on out. She sneezed it on out. A little feisty today. That stuff came out He went to Orr because Steele, as per Glenn Simpson, was very frustrated that nothing was being done, quote, to investigate the things that he had already given to the FBI. And he felt, and Steele felt, that the FBI reopening the Clinton investigation into the stuff on Weiner's laptop, which coincidentally only happened because of immense pressure by the NYPD saying, we're going to release this if you don't. They saw that as trying to affect the outcome of a presidential election, politicizing the FBI, which had been disgustingly politicized for, since Comey took the helm, and if not before. So he got so frustrated about that, and he decided we had to stop this. We had to stop this. This could not stand. Trump could not be elected president. Therefore, we are going to take the information that we got from Russians and use it to sway public opinion through journalists and one last attempt at the DOJ through Bruce Orr. And we're going to attempt to sway the election in the favor of Hillary Clinton. Collusion. Collusion. Admitted collusion right in open court. Right in open session, not court. Anyway, then they go on to kiss Bruce Orr's ass. Bruce Orr is a well-respected career professional with a wife who also worked for the CIA and Fusion GPS and got a ham radio license so she could receive or transmit classified information without anybody realizing, allegedly. By the time Orr debriefs with the FBI, it had already terminated Steele as a source and was independently corroborating Steele's reporting about Page's activities. Finally, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page's text messages are irrelevant to the FISA application. Noise. 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 Strzok was in charge of this nonsense. Mueller demoted him. Strzok was in charge of the Hillary Clinton investigation. He had an obvious political bias. They're not affiants on the FISA applications, as per Schiff. The majority accuses them of orchestrating leaks to the media. A serious charge, because they did. It's clear. Are we stupid? We can read these text messages. We can read them. And he's the one who altered Comey's speech to the public. So there's a lot more detail in here, but I think more than anything, read the footnotes too. They have to actually redact footnotes. That's how bad this thing is. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that we grab from this, outside of the fact that we know that Schiff is a liar and he's politically misleading and he's trying to distract people and he's made this the wordiest thing in the entire universe instead of straightforward and to the point. And it contains tons of generalities and tons of omissions and lots of things that aren't even true, which is why I think that Donald Trump allowed him to release it, because he knows what's coming. And this right here is going to be damning. Damning for them. Just like they had to start spinning the 13 Russians, the fake Russians that were arrested. Not arrested. They can't be arrested. They'll never be arrested. You know, the ones that Michael Moore was working with during the rally in New York City? Not my president. Michael Moore and all the media were working with the Russians. Remember? So I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, all of the stuff in here, the biggest thing that I take from this actually is that I really do, with all of this in here, now I'm pretty confident. I'm not even going to, I'm pretty confident at this point. I can't wait to go on Hagman tomorrow with this, but I'm pretty confident at this point that Papadopoulos was working for the enemy inside of the Trump campaign. So the IG report's coming. The Clinton Foundation investigation's heating up. I want to talk to you guys real quick about something else. Busy day today for me. Well, first of all, April 7th, DC, please come to the march. Please. It is operationjustice.us is the website. You'll get a lot of details there. I really want to meet you guys. In addition, I want to say to my friends that are losing their channels because of this horrible censorship that's happening, I support you guys, and I'm working behind the scenes on some pretty cool stuff that's going to take this civil instead of trying to use the government to enforce private business. We can do this civilly, and I'm working on that right now. I see your message, Pity Party, and I saw your email, I believe, if that was you. So I'll reach out to you. Anyway, I'm working on some stuff in the background. I'm not silent on this. I support you guys. I support your right to speech, and I'm going to help you. And I'm lucky at this point that I've got my channel. I'm going to keep on doing it, but I also want to let you guys know that I'm cross-posting on DTube, on BitChute, on Steemit. So if you guys want to check me out on the blockchain, you could find me Steemit Tracy Beans. Also, I have an interview later on this evening, which I'm going to make a standalone video about that I'm not putting on YouTube specifically because I don't want to lose my channel here. So I'm going to be interviewing John Boucher, who was that gentleman that stepped forward with the thread asking all the questions about the Florida incident. So I'm not putting that on here. That'll be tonight at around 6. I'm going to interview today also with SGT Report, which I'm so graciously accepting of. This was like an amazing honor to talk to him. He's an amazing guy. And tomorrow night at 8:30, I will be on the Hageman Report talking about all this stuff. And I'm also tomorrow evening on my YouTube channel interviewing my friend Gigi Bowman, who is an activist against Big Pharma because she lost her daughter to suicide several years ago at 15 years old. They had prescribed her Zoloft for depression, and it was not cleared to be prescribed to children under 18. And so since that's happened, she's turned into a fierce activist against Big Pharma. And she has a lot of really good information to share with you guys in regards to SSRI drugs and children and all that. And I really think we should present every side of an issue to everybody so that they get a really round picture. So that's why I'm doing that with her. And plus, she's just a wonderful, dear friend of mine, and I love her. So if you appreciate the work I do and you would like to become a patron, I would be honored to have you on my Patreon to join my family. It's going to be more important than ever that we support each other this way. And if you find value and you'd like to support me, I am honored. Like I said, I really am. Patreon.com/TracyBeans with the Z. My PayPal address is in the description below, along with everything else that you guys need to take a look at this stuff. Also, follow me on Twitter and Gab. I am on Gab at Tracy Beans. I've been on Gab for a really long time. Make sure you check out the March website and the March Twitter. The March Twitter's at March Justice. The Hill has been kind of taunting me about this march, which is a really good sign. So I want you guys to come out and see me. Discounted hotel rooms. There's going to be a March map updated very soon. And we're going to be coming out with merchandise hopefully this week. As of right now, I don't need any of your dollars and cents to fund this march. I'm not asking for them. That may change, but I really don't think so at this point. The only thing that'll change it is the sound. If we need money for sound. Otherwise, this is fully funded by members of the group and myself. So I just wanted to let you guys know, thank you so much, everyone who's offering to donate some funds. But I don't want to take on kind of trying to do like, if you can't afford it, here's some money, because that gets dicey. If you know someone who wants to go and you have some funds you'd like to donate to them so that they can go, you guys can handle that as a private transaction amongst yourselves. And it's gracious and wonderful of you to offer. And, you know, I'm blown away consistently about this community and how wonderful everyone is. Please keep loving each other. Please keep supporting each other. Have each other's backs. We're really under attack right now. And I think it's really important that we band together to kind of fight this nonsense that's happening. Love all you guys so much. Thanks so much for watching. And I will be continuing to cover this crazy political corruption that we're dealing with. Have a wonderful Sunday, and I will absolutely see you guys later.